outside of range. Little lamb, here I am. Come and lick my neck. Let me pull on your wool. Let me kiss your soft face. I'm merrily, merrily, merrily. You're welcome in the year. Merrily.
That track was called The Flight of the Moorglade.
Right, okay.
Nearly right.
Nearly right, yeah, nearly right. The album's late, isn't it?
Yeah, about 5 months later, in fact. I originally planned to do it in 2 months, having already recorded it once on 8-track, and then I got into 24-track, and it just seemed to go on and on. It was like quite a trip, sojourn of getting into music, learning a bit about music and how to formulate the album as I felt correctly. So eventually it took about 6 months.
Has having your own studio at home made very much difference?
Oh, it's fantastic, really. It gives you the amount of time that you really need if you're going to get involved in your own possibilities and reactions to situations, and you don't have to worry too much about the financial aspect of it, you know, how much it's going to cost at the end. You make the original cost at the beginning and then say, well, that's what I would like, and that's the kind of atmosphere I want to work in, where I can be on my own with Mike Dunn, who helped me do the album. And that's the way it feels natural to me, to want to work in a studio on my own without any pressure about time and the usual expenses of making albums and so on.
It occurs to me, actually, John, listening to the LP, really, that yours is the closest sounding to the band's album, certainly closer to the band than the other solo things.
Possibly, because I was very involved in directing the music of the band, mainly because I was originally involved in the song structures and then started thinking about the development of the music around the songs, and then putting forward to the rest of the guys in the band how I felt about the piece of music. I became a director of the guys in the band, so I had generally a vision of what I wanted to hear. And by discussing various ideas, you come up with, eventually you come up with something you didn't really hear in the first place. You had a sort of vision of the style of music it would be, but with the effect of 4 musicians like her and Yes, you know, it's bound to develop, and that's the way it always became. And so when I did my own album, it was a question of having the vision in the first place to want to present a story, which Elias is about a story, and the music to be compatible to the story. And the initial vision then became this sojourn of kind of trip of getting involved in being able to make all the music myself. And basically the idea of doing it on my own was to learn about music, which I am steadily doing, happily.
Because all the albums have come out fairly close to one another, John, haven't they? Yeah. Was it a conscious decision within the band that you should all make a solo album at this time?
I think most musicians in bands want to be in a band, in a group, and then at the back of the mind they've got this idea of wanting to express themselves totally on their own. And happily, Yes was in the position to do this, and you get your solo albums.
Has it affected, because you're rehearsing right now, aren't you, John?
Yeah, we're rehearsing for America.
The fact that you split off to do your solo things, has it affected the working relationship now? Has it changed it at all?
It makes it more involved when we got back together again. It made it more, the possibilities became endless, it seems, and basically we said to ourselves earlier this year, about March, that it would be good to present the group as it is at the moment, being a solo album situation, so we can go on tour and play some Yes music, but also represent each person as a very valid statement, i.e. the record, and then to do the odd track on stage. And that became very apparent to us to want to do. In the event, the more important things that I'm sure we're all thinking about is the next album that we put together later this year.
I wish we had time to talk about that too, actually, John, but we've got to stop.
Oh.
There we are. Thanks very much for coming. Each of the albums released by the guys in Yes. Alan White recently, and Chris Squire and Steve Howe have each released a solo album. And with John Anderson's on the way, Patrick Moraz has just put out his recording, of which Carl Dallison, Melody Maker, said it makes Hannibal's Crossing of the Alps look like a Sunday afternoon excursion to Brighton. I'll be talking with Patrick about that and other things in a few minutes' time. But first, let's have a listen, and this is a selection of music from the LP. music from the new solo album from Patrick Moraz. And I described that as a selection from the LP. Patrick, what actually did we hear there?
Yes, it's a trailer, because the whole piece, the whole album is one piece of music, although I've put scrolls on it to help the listener identify, you know, whatever pieces of music comes, and it's one piece of music, and I wanted to do a musical trailer, like when you see a film advertised or whatever promoted in a cinema or in a situation like this. I wanted the same thing but musical, and I took a short excerpt of the whole piece of music, which is anyway one piece, and I put it all together. And you know, it was a very specialized operation, if I may say so.
You described the album as a concept album in
Yes.
the sleeve notes, Patrick, and this symbol on the sleeve here is obviously central to the theme.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Can you explain the symbol for us?
Sure. First, it symbolizes, or it represents, in fact, the building, which is in a jungle, or sort of plateau surrounded by a jungle, and on the top of the building there is a sphere. It's a sort of science fiction story, and I wanted to symbolize the intensity of this building, where there's a little electronic sphere hovering above it. But also, this symbol is the letter I of the a sacred alphabet, which I found in a very ancient book. And this letter I is also the ninth letter of the alphabet, and 9, in a way, it's a very symbolic number to represent reincarnation, love and death in mythological stories or situations. You know.
Because, I mean, just listening to the album once, you can tell it's painstakingly put together. Patrick, how long did it take you to actually make it?
It took me a few months to put it together, but I've been thinking about it a long time, in detail, and of course I had to go to South America to record the Brazilian percussionist, and I had to come back to Switzerland to record the whole thing, and have American and English musicians coming to Switzerland and record the album. It took me a few months to put it together and mix it.
Did you actually build the album around the theme, or did the theme gradually emerge as you
No,
wrote?
the theme, the story, is the motivation behind the music, because as probably you have noticed if you have listened to the album, the music is very representative of what's going on in the story, and I took the story as a motivation, not only for myself or for the listener, but also for the musicians, whom I had to, in a way, instruct and teach how to play certain licks, and I wanted a lot of intensity and power in certain parts, and I wanted a lot of emotions and yeah, a lot of emotions. You know. It's very difficult to explain in so many short words.
What about performance, Patrick? Are you planning to perform the album?
Yes, of course, we plan to perform it, but I've got to say, and this is a very, very interesting situation, that's where, in a way, in my position of being the keyboard player with Yes, it's very interesting because we are going to perform parts of this album as a part of the next Yes program on stage. And I could add also that we are not going to perform only parts of this album, but also parts of individual solo albums from Yes. And it's very interesting experiment, you know, because everybody in a way takes the leadership or whatever at one point and teaches everybody else. We all help each other at rehearsals, and it's very good vibe, you know.
Good. I'll look forward to that, Patrick. Sadly, we've got to stop. Thanks for coming in.
Okay.
straight shooter, Feel Like Making Love, and that last one, Good Loving Gone Bad. Well, it's always good to sit and talk with the guy next to me at the moment. This time last year we were in the studios together producing Wally's album between us, since which time he's left an enormously successful band, journeyed to the centre of the earth and all round its surface, recorded a brand new album in the shops this week, and is now working at Shepperton Studios with Ken Russell on the music for the new film Listomania. Of course, I'm talking of Rick Wakeman. Hello, Rick.
Hello, sir.
How are you? All right?
Yeah, feeling very good, actually.
Let's talk about the album, first of all, this new one. Because it's a complex album, very big, like all the things you do. How long did this one take?
This one actually didn't take as long as either Journey or Henry, because we learnt a lot from the Journey album, especially. You tend to, after you finish an album, sit back and listen to it. And especially as it was the first time that we'd used an orchestra, we found ourselves sitting down and listening, and you hear certain passages 6 months later, and you think, oh, that worked very well. It might be a silly combination of woodwinds and keyboards, or woodwinds and guitar, and you think that works really nice together, and you start expanding on it. And then you find other little passages you think didn't work quite so well. For example, there's one part on Journey where I used clavinet with a string section, which didn't work particularly as well as I thought it would have done. So you learn not to do that again. So apart from learning from your mistakes, the things that you know work well help you to work a lot faster. So it was very useful when we came to do this album. The ideas that I had, I started listening for sounds that I'd already previously used and exploring them a bit further. So even though it's more complex, it took a lot less time. I think it was about 9 months, actually, 10 months.
It must be very difficult, though, Rick, planning to take something as big as that out on the road. I mean, how many people travel with you now?
It gets ludicrous. It's about 120 or something. But it's not difficult because I'm lucky. I have a very, very fine road crew, which are worth their weight in gold. As I'm sure Russ and everybody else will tell you, that they really are gold dust. And if you have a good crew, they can make things go so smoothly for you. And we were lucky in as much as John Cleary, who looks after most of our stuff for us. And I said, well, how many roadies are you going to need? Like 20, 30, 40? And he said, I think we can do it with 4. And I said, okay, if you think you can do it with that. And he went out and we used just 4 people. And with all those, with the orchestra, with the choir and all those people, the sound system and everything, we had a basic road crew of 4. And every gig started on time. We had no problems at all. And it was excellent. So I have no problems at all.
You took Journey to America?
Yeah, and to Japan and
then
Australia.
Japan and Australia, yeah. How does it work? I mean, do you sort of get to a place, set it up for a couple of days and then do 3 days of concerts and then go on? Is that really the way that it works?
No, actually, what we did, because as it was the first album, we obviously couldn't draw enough people to do 3 days on a trot or 2 days on a trot in sort of large capacity halls. So we had to do one-nighters in average about 13,000 people. Hopefully when we've done a few more albums and we've played a few more places and people can believe in that we believe in what we're doing, then obviously we'll be able to do 2 or 3 nights, which will help us out a lot. But on the last tour we couldn't do that. So we literally had to go in and do the one night and move out, get on the plane and move to the next place. But I think that all comes with time. I mean, as much experience and as lucky as I've been in playing with really good bands and playing with really good musicians, you can always learn all the time, and you're always really on the bottom rung of the ladder all the time because things move so fast ahead of you. And you've got to accept that and accept the problems that come with touring. Nice one.
Come on in. Because I read a criticism of the Toronto gig, I think it was, Rick, in Canada. And the criticism was, and whenever I read criticisms of what you do, it's always based around, well, it's a long way away from what rock and roll is all about.
Yeah, I read that criticism. That was a guy called Bill Mann, who some of the road crew are looking for, and some other people are looking for at the moment. That was very upsetting because obviously when you write a piece of music and play a piece of music, not everybody is going to like it. I mean, you obviously don't expect people to like it, but the object is you're almost an ambassador to your music. You want to go around, you believe in something wholeheartedly, you want to go and play it to as many people as possible, and it is a piece of music. I hate all the tags, things like rock and roll, classical. I mean, there's a classic example of people say classical music, and they think of everything before 1928 as classical music. You know, they class Debussy as classical music, and they class Bach as classical music, and they're not. They're all in their own little they're all pieces of music. They're in their own periods of time.
Mm.
And I don't see, just because of the fact that I'm sort of 25 and happen to play in the era when rock and roll is the big thing, why? Because what I play has to be rock and roll.
Mm.
And this guy, Bill Mann, actually, I mean, how he did it, he sat through most probably the best concert that we ever did, which was at Toronto, and said the most boring, outrageous, useless thing he'd ever seen. And we got a 15-minute standing ovation.
Mm.
And he said it's got nothing to do with rock and roll. That summed it up, but the guys, I can't say that word, can I?
We're running out of time, actually, Rick.
I'm sorry.
I must just ask you about the Wembley thing that's coming up, the Empire Pool, the
Yeah.
ice thing. Tell us about that.
Well, very briefly, what I wanted to do was to try and find some way of presenting the concert without using a futuristic idea and using something to complement the orchestra and complement us and the piece of music. We can't do that a la Floyd, because Floyd have done all the futuristic sort of things, so we decided to do it as an ice ballet, which could be something that really nice and visual that would complement the music and they would have to work to.
Mm.
And that's basically what we're doing in the end of May.
Mm. OK. I'm sad we've got to start, Rick, but we have run out of time. Thanks very much.